We're going to start on Prime Video with the feature film Saipan. And here's a clip.
Now the game's changed, and we need to be prepared. We're going out there to work, aren't we?
And to acclimatise. There's been a bit of an issue. I've been promised some things that haven't been delivered.
We don't have footballs.
You can manage without that stuff.
Without footballs.
So this was released in cinemas, and if you haven't heard of it, it's all about what happened to the Ireland team at the 2002 World Cup in South Korea and Japan, and specifically the big bust-up between manager Mick McCarthy and captain Roy Keane. Okay, so playing McCarthy, you have Steve Coogan, who is so good at playing real-life people, isn't he? He's done quite a varied selection of them, including Jimmy Savile, of course. I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, but it's Ina Hardwick plays Roy Keane. So I think this is very much an issue that polarizes, well, football fans, I guess, and probably particularly Irish football fans, because Roy Keane, who's, star player for Manchester United, quite a pretty acerbic character, very, aggressive player, brilliant player, but as it turns out, uncompromising in this. So he ended up coming home from the World Cup without playing at all after a big argument with the manager. And in fact, Ireland did very well in that competition, and they were unlucky to go out on penalties. I think they got through to the last 16. So yeah, imagine what they might have achieved if Roy Keane had stayed. So yeah, it's brilliantly done. I think particularly the portrayal of Keane. I mean, I always used to just say, he let his country down. But I think this gives him the much fairer hearing in that he goes to the World Cup, wanting to do it properly. And the facilities that the Irish team are given are laughable. Like, they don't even have any footballs, and the pitch they're playing on is just all stony. So, and the catering is horrendous. And also a lot of the Irish contingent, in terms of the team and then the entourage, they're kind of treating it as a jolly. And he's like, I don't want Ireland just to be there as the entertainment. I want us to perform, and I want us, So, and of course, all of that you can understand. However, from start to finish, it is the Roy Keane show, in that it's just all about his drama, all about his problems, So he threatens to leave once, then he's persuaded to stay. And then, they have this big showdown, which is brilliantly done. And in fact, I remember the words being quoted in the press. So I think it's very close to what happened. And the things that he said to McCarthy, awful verbal abuse, personal abuse, he couldn't stay after that. So he said, I'm going, and McCarthy said, I'm sending you home anyway. But yeah, I don't think you need to be a football fan because, well, there's barely any football in it. Well, mainly because they haven't got footballs. It's just a really good portrayal of two real life men. I mean, McCarthy, Keane kind of questions his Irish credentials, but he did play for Ireland, and he always seemed like, I felt like he always seemed like quite a sort of affable guy. I mean, you never know, but this certainly, yeah, although I'd say it's quite sympathetic to Keane, it just shows him as a very uncompromising person. And yeah, it's kind of just the drama just follows him. Everything has to be his way or not at all. So it's such an interesting chapter in football history, and I thought it was very well done. What did you think, Hannah?
Well, football is like theatre sometimes, isn't it? I sometimes do think that they're acting more than anything else when they roll over some air. You wouldn't see rugby players doing that, would you, Ian McEwen? Anyway, I digress. My point being is that, you're never bigger than the club, but football is also, I don't know, that there seems to be a narrative, a story around everything, doesn't there? Whatever World Cup there is, or whatever big match. There always seems to be some kind of drama on the pitch, off the pitch. We're interested in their personal lives. We're interested in absolutely everything. And I often think, and I am digressing slightly because you kind of really articulated what this is about, but what I do think is that I liken these to child stars. They're very, very young when they get all this money. They don't really know how to behave. Who are the people around them? Who are the people looking after them? This sense of entitlement that really comes across in this, which is understandable, I guess. If you're so young, you have all this money, you've got everyone throwing themselves at you. How are you supposed to behave? Who are those people protecting you? And I think this is the same with child stars, footballers. They're all kind of the same mould, aren't they? And so then you do see some bad behaviour. I think in this, like you say, he gets a much better hearing than perhaps people remember it. But again, it is all the drama, and we're still talking about it. And football has been ever thus. But, as Alex Ferguson said, you're never bigger than the club. And I think that's the point everyone's got to remember.